Ready? Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter number 3, verse number 18. These are prayers of Sri Vasudeva to Sri Krishna right after he was born. And we read in the previous verses, he said that I have understood that you are original person, supreme person, beyond Prakriti. You are the Paramatma. You create and then you enter in it. Also you don't enter. So your magic, and gave the example of the material elements which also enter and do not enter. So this entering and not entering is a very common theme. Chatusloki also, yatha mahanti bhutani. Right? And a similar statement is also spoken by Krishna when he sent a message to gopis. So this is a very big secret. Secret mantra for prema. Pravishtani apravishtani. Bhutesu ucca vachu ucheshvanu. So now then he said that you are buddhi anumeya lakshana. Lakshanai grahayair gunai. Sanapi tadagunagraha. You cannot be attained or understood or realized by the material gunas. You can only be inferred, but you are not covered inside or outside because you don't have inside or outside. You are the self of everything, the very essence of everything, and you are transcendental. Now another complicated sloka is coming. So he says, ye atmano drishya gunesu sanniti vyavashyate svayavatirekto bhudaha vinanuvadam nachatan manishitam samyagatastaktam upadadattapaman. So ye atmano drishya gunesu san iti vyavashyate svayavatirekto buddha. Says those people who think that these body material objects which are visible, they are separate from the self, they are foolish. I'm sure you never heard that. All the time you have been hearing that we are not the body, we are separate from the body, right? So it says, ye atmano drishya gunesu sanniti vyavashyate svavatirekto abudha. Abudha means foolish. Who is foolish? Svavatirekto, that these things are vyatireka, different from me. Which are these? Drishya gunesu sanniti. All these objects which are having drishya guna, or means qualities which are perceivable.
Mm-hmm.
So one who thinks like this is a fool.
So the seer and the seen are
not different. So
Well, it's true. I mean, this is very, what we call in Western philosophy is solipsism. Yeah? In Western philosophy, we call it solipsism, that you think that the self is everything, that I am everything.
yes.
So, but in the sense that everything that's created is a product of the mind and desires and samskaras and so on. If I had different samskaras, I would be living a different life, perceiving a different world, and so on.
But that world which you are perceiving, is it One with you or different from you?
It's both.
That means you are half foolish.
Well, certainly on the platform of the mind, that if we take Atma as being the mind, it's a product. Anyway.
How Atma can be the mind?
Well, you explain it. I'm agreeing with the verse. So now, if you're going to, you explain it in your way.
Well, if you agree with the verse, you already have foolish.
Yes, I'm the foolish one. No, but I'm not the foolish one. I'm agreeing with the verse.
Okay.
I take the verse. I'm taking Vasudev's Paksha.
Well, that's how I'm going to explain also.
Okay,
So generally we hear all the time, and especially in Sankhya, that anything which you see is not you. Right? Because there is always a distinction between drishya and drashta. Actually, Shankaracharya has a small book, it's called Drik Drishya Viveka. Very nice book. To Asti Bhati Priyam Rupam. That is the first sloka of that book. So, this is what we see, we understand that anything which you perceive is not you. Because the only thing which you don't perceive is yourself. So if you perceive these objects outside you, then they are not you. Because they are object of your perception. And perceived is always different from the perceiver. Drashta is different from the drishya. Seer is different from the seen. Right? Because the perceiver cannot see itself. Tatra kam va kena pashyat yatra sarvatra atma eva bhut. If there is only Atma, then who will see whom by what? Kena kam va ka pashyat. So he says that Atmano drishya gunesu saniti vyavasyate svavatirekto. Atmano vyatirekta. Seeing it different from oneself, all these objects, then he is Abuddha. Vinanuvadam na chatan manishitam samyagta staktam upadadata puman. So because this all what you see is only an anuvad, it is all the manifestation of your speech, and to think it is different is not manishitam. They have not thought it clearly. Samyagta tyaktam upadate. And these people, they are accepting things, all this body, etc., which they have been actually given up by intelligent people. Tyakta. So only foolish people take interest in these things. And those who are intelligent, they say sarvam khalu idam brahma. And those who are more intelligent, they will say vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudarla. So if it is Vasudeva, then it is not different from the self. And those who see it as different, they are not intelligent. And therefore they become implicated in it because they think, I have to have it, I have to acquire it, I have to possess it. They are fighting over it. And in that process they create karma. And therefore they suffer. So that is not manishitam, that is not well thought. Okay? So that is how philosophy works. So this is one way of seeing the sloka.
Did you
And
say Vinanuvadam? What's that again?
Means-
Anuvadam, yeah?
Anuvad means it's just a talk. It's really so. Asti bhati priya rupam nam rupa iti panchakam. Adyatraya Brahma Rupam, and then the rest. So this is Nam Rupa is all false. Mrittika eva satyam. Vacharambhano vikara. Mrittika iti eva satyam. The truth is only Mrittika, the clay, and then this is a pot, this is a cup, this is a plate. These are only name and form of the clay. They are not real. They change. Once you break it, it is clay only. So it is all Atma only. Then you say this is this, this is this, you make all this. Even from Prakriti point of view, it is only Prakriti which becomes Mahatattva, which becomes Ahankar, which becomes this. Then it becomes Akash, and then becomes this. So it becomes solid, it becomes liquid, it becomes hot and cold and sweet and sour. It is this only one thing. So, neha nana asti kinchana. There is no variety here. So, samartya mrityum apneti, yahi nana pashyati. One who sees here the variety, he goes to death. One who sees that there is only one reality, sarvabhutesu yapashyat bhagwan bhavamatmane bhagavati atmani bhutani esha bhagavatottama. Right? So that is the Bhagavatottama. And others, Prakrita Bhakta Sasmrita.
Jiva Goswami is very insistent. Jiva Goswami is very insistent in the Priti Sandarbha when he's talking about mukti, that one has to go through Brahma Gyan before one can get Priti.
Yeah, because if you have to go to the top floor, you have to cross through the lower floor. Without Brahma Gyan, how will you get?
I think the Raganuga people would say you can bypass conscious Jnana.
How will you bypass?
You can go. There's it's the Krama Mukti and the Sadhya Mukti.
Yeah, Sadhya means that you don't stop. That's all. Krama means that you stop, but you have to still pass. Sadhya means you go immediately.
Like the needle going through.
Yeah, taking a lift and walking by stairs. So lift is also passing the floors. Goes quickly, without stopping. When you take the stairs, you are going step by step. So Madhyam Mahimanam cha. This is what Matsya Avatar told to King Satyavrata. That you will see me, you will also see my Mahima. So now let's see. So these are the type of verse which are very bliss giving to Advaitavadis. So Sridhar Swami is also explaining this in an Advaita way, happily. So let's see what Vishnu Chakravarti says here. Nanu lepakapi prakriti gunaha kechit sukhda bhadra eva ityatyaha. So he is continuing the explanation which he gave. You have to see the thread. So he said that you are not covered, right? When he says anavrita, so he has used the word lepaka, that you are not covered, you are not conditioned. So now question is raised that all these prakriti guna which cover you, they also give some sweetness, right? There is some sweetness in material relations also. Otherwise, why people are so crazy about it? At least little bit is there. There is also some sweetness in material objects. Otherwise, if they were all very bitter all the time, people will not work for them. So he says, lepkapi prakriti guna kechit sukhda. Says some of them, they are sukhda, they give happiness. There is an ashram here called Sukhda Bhakti Ashram. And Bhadra are also auspicious, makes you feel good. Auspicious means anything which makes you feel good. That is called Bhadra. Bhadram Bhadram iti bruyat. So for that he says, yeah, Atmanah swasya दृश्य गुणेषु भोग्य श्रक चंदन वनितादेषु. These are the standard 3 words you will see everywhere whenever they talk about sense objects. They talk about shrak, chandan, vanita. Nobody writes more than that. Garland, sandalwood, and woman.
They usually don't even bother with vanita. It's always Sakchandana. Usually they don't bother even with vanita. They usually just say Sakchandana.
Well, if they want to spare the space in.
What's special mention? But once you go down the slippery slope of putting on garlands and chandan, the women are sure to follow soon behind.
So saniti uttamoyam padartha iti. So he says that these drishya gunas means the objects of enjoyment, because in the olden days there was no AC and India is a hot country, because this srak and chandan make no sense in Europe and America. Right? People will wonder, what are you talking about? Who wants the cold garland and this sandalwood? Vanita is okay. So this is because India is a hot country and there was no AC, so flowers, garland, sandalwood, this was considered as luxury. Not everybody could afford this. So he says that there is some pleasure in that. If you are feeling hot, they did certainly give you some relief. Uttumayam padartha iti vyavashyate nischinoti saubudha. He says one who considers them that these objects are good, then he is not very intelligent, he is abudha. Why? Kutaha स्वव्यतिरेकतः स्वस्मिन् तेषां सदा संयोगा bhavat. So he makes a different explanation. Vyatireka. Vyatireka means that there is no contact with these things of Atma. Atma never contacts these things. Atma, because material things can be contacted only by the material senses, material body, not the spiritual thing. Asango hi ayam purusha. So purusha is asanga. It does not contact them. So does not contact them, vyatirekta, and then he thinks that they are object of pleasure. So from where he is getting the meaning of object of pleasure? This is something which he is adding, because here it only says sun iti. So he is making the meaning of sun as something which is enjoyable. Tatascha shoka moha adi dukha pradatvat sansara pravaha prapkatvat cheti bhava. Why is that? That even if they appeal to you in the beginning, which happens, because if this thing would not appeal from the very beginning, no one will go for it. So they appeal in the beginning and then they peel away. Right? So first there is appeal, and when the peel is over, then from inside it is shoka, moha, dukkha, pradatvat. So outside looks sukhda and bhadra, right? The packing is pleasing and auspicious, Then when you open the object, then from inside comes shoka, moha and dukkha, dukkha pradita. Then there is only distress, delusion, suffering. Right? This is the story everywhere. Yes? Looks good to begin with, and then comes this. So this is the package deal, 2 in 1. Right? These days people like 2 in 1. So you buy only one, happiness, right? The other comes with it free. No charge for that.
That's a bait and switch.
So sansara pravaha prapkatvacha. And not only that you suffer from them, but they also put you in the cycle of suffering. One thing is that you get fooled once, right? So you get fooled once. There's some saying like that. You trick me once,
Fool me once.
fool me once, and then
Fool me once.
fool me once, fool me twice, something like that.
Once bitten, twice shy.
No. There's another one.
Some people, you can make fool some people some of the time, all the time. You can make fool all the people sometime, but you cannot make fool all the people all the time.
That is a different one. I'm looking for fool me once and fool me twice. It goes like
I
that.
know what it's like. It's fool me once.
Yes.
I think it's fool me once, shame on you.
Yes, that's
Fool
exactly.
me twice, shame on me.
Yes. Exactly. Thank you. This is the one I was looking for. So here the situation is fool me many times and shame on me. It makes no difference. Because this
no
is
shame.
this is the pravaha, that I have been fooled again and again, not only twice or thrice or 4 times, but it has no beginning. I am being fooled again and again and again, and I don't feel ashamed. I have gotten used to it. So that's why in the saying they only say twice. They don't speak of what happens, fool me thrice. They don't say. So therefore it says sansara pravaha prapakatvat cha iti bhava. Not only that you suffer, but you suffer repeatedly. You go on making the same mistake repeatedly. That is pitiable. That's why he says abudha. Abudha means you are sleeping. Buddha means awake. One who is awake is Buddha or Buddha, enlightened. One who is not awake is abudha. So of course you can make this also Buddha, abudha as Buddha, and then give completely the opposite meaning to this sloka. Right? That he is intelligent, who understands these things are separate from me. ननु असौ मीमांसको भोग्य श्रगादि सनिति वदन मनीषिणमेव आत्मानं मन्यते. He says, but these Mimamsakas who are doing yajna, right? So apama soma amritam abhume, that we will drink soma, we will become immortal, right? So chaturmasya yajina, they perform chaturmasya yajna, and then you go to heaven. Swarkamo yajet. So yamimam puspitam vacham pravadanti manishina. So he says that they do not consider themselves as less intelligent. They are manishi, because manishi means one who deliberates, and that's what a mimamsaka means. Mimamsa means deliberation. Mimamsaka means one who deliberates, one who thinks. So how do you say that they are not manishi? They are also going for heaven only. Yanne dukkhena sambhinnam, yanne grastam anantaram. So that's what their Swarg is. So, Swechapnitam cha tatsvapadapadaspodam. So why you say tatraha vinaya iti? So now this is a very interesting breakup he makes of vinanuvadam. He makes it as vina nu vadam. Makes 3 words here. So he says nu is used in the sense of nishchitam, certainly. That certainly these people are only talking about vadam. Vadam vina tan manishitam ne samyak manishitam. So they are without vada. Vadam nu vina. So you know vada, and then there is pravada, there is vivada and samvada and anuvada. So what does Krishna say in 10th chapter? Vado vivatamaham. That I am the concluding principle among those who are debating. Right? So these people are without vada. Means they don't have the proper conclusion. That's how he takes it as vina nu vadam. Certainly they are without vada. Tan manishitam na samyak manishitvam. They think, they deliberate, but not properly. Samyak, there is a word samyak here. So samyak na manishitam. Says we accept that they are thoughtful, they are considerate, they debate, but they don't come to the proper conclusion. So therefore, na samyak manishitam. Why? Because they are without the vada, without the proper understanding. Tatra pravada eva. So therefore, if they do not have vada, what do they have? They have only pravada. Pravada means hearsay. Hearsay means that which is not truth. That is called pravada. Pravada, iti pravada, jata. Such belief occurred. Speak like that. Means it's not truth.
You always say this is common knowledge. Pravada meaning common knowledge.
No,
It's what the what people say.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Common.
So I mean, people don't necessarily. It's a kind of praman, isn't it?
No.
Then you have we say that that aitija is a praman. So pravada is aitija.
Yeah, but not always. It's not known. It can be wrong.
It can be wrong. It can be disproved.
Yeah. Pravada is generally used means not certain. Something.
Yes, so it is.
Yeah, so it is said. May be true, it may not be true. That's called pravada. So natu sa manishi, therefore such a person is not a manishi. He is not a thinker. Means proper thinker. Their thinking is there, but not proper thinking that you come to a proper conclusion. यतस्त्यक्तमेव त्वदीय जनैर घृणास्पदत्वेन यत् तदेव उप आधिक्येन आददत् स्वीकृतवान्. Why they are not manishi? He says त्यक्तम उपाददते पुमान. That which has been rejected by the devotees think, for which the devotees think that it is not something to be acceptable, means all these sense pleasures, and it is ghrhanaspadam, it's actually despicable. So that they are accepting, that's why they are not manishi. So adhikyena adate. Upa is used here in the sense of adhika. Generally upa is used in the sense of secondary, near, close, but upa is also used in the sense of higher. So he says this is what they have accepted. This is certainly not very thoughtful. Okay. Then next sloka. Yes.
Could you maybe explain what to see the contrast what Srila Swami, how he comments on it?
I don't have the commentary here,
Okay.
but I don't have the commentary with me, but I can tell you that. It's not very difficult. So that is ya atmano drishya gunesu sanniti vyavasyate svavatirekta buddha. One who thinks that this material world is different from Atma, that is not intelligent, because sarvam khalu idam brahma. Atma for them is Brahman. So one who thinks that it is separate from Brahman, or it has separate existence from Brahman, that is not intelligent, because it is Brahman only. And vinanuvadam na chatan manishitam. These people, they have not thought properly, because this is nothing but vagvilas. Anuvad also means just words. These things do not have real existence. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. It is Mithya. It only has appearance only at the empirical state, not at the paramarthic level, only Vyavaharika Satta. So therefore it is Anuvad Matra, and thus they have not thought it properly. Samyakta Tyaktam Upadate, something which is Tyakta, which is to be given up or rejected, they are accepting that.
He says here, just for Vinanuvadam, he says Vacharambhana Matram.
Yeah, that's what I said, Vagvilas. Just a speech, just a talk. Just like I said that this Ghata Pata, etc., all these names and forms, they are not real. Reality is only what is the foundation of it. Mritika iti eva satyam.
And just to clarify the gist of what Vishwanath Chakravarti is saying about it, he's saying that it's foolish to consider these perceivable objects of the senses to exist separately in the sense of to
No.
exist as being for the object of enjoyment.
Object of enjoyment, that's how he's taking. The direct is that to see them separate from you, but he's saying to see them separate as enjoyment, object of enjoyment.
And so the people who see them as such are not actually intelligent, although they consider themselves to be, or although they make an attempt to.
Yeah, so he is applying this verse on Mimamsakas. Because Mimamsakas, their goal is that you perform yajna and then you go to heaven. So therefore they are only after material pleasure. And that material pleasure is not real. Because he says that you really never enjoy it. Sanyoga bhavat. That's what he said in the commentary. That Atma never contacts them. So whatever enjoyment, material enjoyment is happening, it is only happening in the mind. And you are only a witness to that. So to think that they can be enjoyed or they are enjoyable, that is not intelligent.
And from Vasudev's perspective as he's speaking this, is there any thread as to why he's now talking about Mimamsakas, or why he's now talking about this topic of material objects not being the means to fulfillment?
Maybe we should go to the next verse.
Well, what he means, if you, this is Vishwanath Chakravarti's take on it. So previously he is trying to connect this verse obviously with the previous one, the way he explained the previous one. So there he said that these objects do not contract you, because he used the word in the sloka, what was that, anavritta, anavrittatvad. So he says that you are not covered, you are not, but those who think that they are covered, which means they can enjoy it, they are not intelligent. That's how I say. Because he raised a Purvapaksha in the beginning, that how do you say that you are not covered actually, and what is wrong with it? That is also enjoyable. Mimamsaka is raising a Purvapaksha to that. त्वत्तस्य जन्म स्थिति संयमान विभो वदन्ति अनीहाद गुणाद विक्रियात् त्वईश्वरे ब्रह्मणि नो विरुध्यते त्वदाश्रयत्वादुपचर्यते गुणैः. So now he says that tvatta anihat agunat avikriyat he vibho asya janmasthiti sanyaman vadanti. That the scholars, they say that it is from you that the creation of this universe happens. It is you that who maintains it, and it is in you that it becomes dissolved. But you are actually anihat. You don't perform any action. No chesta. Iha means chesta, action. So you don't do that, yet creation happens. And agunat, and you do not have any gunas, qualities, and avikriyat, and you do not undergo any transformation. So you do not perform any action, you do not have any qualities, and you do not undergo any transformation, but still it is from you that creation, sustenance and maintenance of the universe happens. So this is again a very contradictory verse when you think of it, but this is to show that how God has, number one, achintya shakti, that he can create without undergoing transformation. He can create without actually himself doing it, just like a magnet. So magnet can move the iron fillings without magnet moving itself, right? Or like Chintamani gem can create things without undergoing any transformation. So like that he also does. So Chintamani or wish-fulfilling gem or wish-fulfilling tree can create objects without anything happening to its own swarupa, right? It doesn't diminish in itself. Or by mantra you can produce something, like Vishwamitra was producing. So then it's not that he is changing himself. So that is avikarat or avikriyat. What was it? Avikriyat. And like a magnet, you are aniha, without movement. Still you can make things happen. So therefore they say that it is all coming from you. Tvayi ishvare brahmani no virudhyate tvad ashriyatvad upcharyate gunai. And you are Brahman. So if you are Brahman, then obviously you do not have qualities, you do not have action and no transformation. But you are also Ishvara. And therefore he says that it is not possible. So because you are Brahman, so therefore you are without any action, because there is no possibility of action in something which is all pervading. And Brahman is Nirguna, and if it is Nirguna, then there is no transformation in it, because to transform there has to be some guna. But as an Ishvara, you are also Ishvara, and therefore you create, you maintain, and you destroy. So you are Ishvara, you are doing that, you are Brahman, and you are also Anihat, Aguna, Navikriyatva, Ishvare, Brahmani, no Viruddhate. And this is not contradictory in you, because you got both aspects. Tvad ashriyatvad upcharyate gunaihi. And all this creation actually happens by the gunas of Prakriti, but then it is imposed onto you. So just as somebody is the owner of a firm or a manufacturing company, and it is the people under him who are working and manufacturing things, but he is considered as the manufacturer, right? People will say, well, he is the one who is manufacturing air conditioner or whatever, tube lights, but he is not doing it himself. So it is the gunas, they function and create. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. So everything is happening under Prakriti, but because Prakriti is tvad ashriyatvat, she is sheltered by you, therefore her actions are imposed onto you, and you become. It is the army which is fighting, then the head of the state, king, prime minister, president, whoever, they say, we won, or I won. He never went to fight. So this is called upchar, or imposition, aropa. So upcharyate. So then the doership is imposed onto you, although it is being done by the Prakriti, under your guidance and with the influence of time. Because Vishnu, he only glances at the Prakriti and creates imbalance in it by the power of Kala and Karma, and then everything just starts from there. He just triggers by his glance. Then everything moves from there and things happen. Nanu saiva saprakrutya idam shishtva ityadi twadukter gunmaya prakrutescha matshaktittvena bhedat gunmaya jagadupadanasya mam katham antar bahir guniyoga abhava tatra hetuteti. So now here is as if Krishna is making a Purvapaksha to Vasudeva. He says that you said that Saeva Swaprakrutya idam shishtva agre trigunatmakam tadanu tam hi apravishta. In verse number 14 he says that you created and then you entered into it. Tat shishtva tadeva apravishat. The Upanishad that is said. So Twadukte, this is your statement, your mean Vasudev's. Gunmaya prakritescha mat shaktitvena bhedat. So this prakriti is my prakriti because you yourself said swa prakritiya idam, that by your prakriti. So if this prakriti, this material nature, this material energy is my material energy, then it is non-different from me, because energy and energetic are non-different from each other. So gunmaya jagad upadanasya mama, so therefore I am the ingredient cause of this universe, because it is my potency and it is my potency which is creating. So I become the ingredient cause. Then how do you say that I am untouched by the gunas inside and outside? This is the Purvapaksha. If it is my Prakriti and through my Prakriti I am creating it. And obviously it is my Prakriti, is non-different from me. And if it is non-different from me, then I am becoming the ingredient cause. And anything which is the ingredient cause undergoes transformation. You cannot create something without making the ingredient cause to change. You have to do some change in it. Right? Whatever the ingredients used to create something, those ingredients have to undergo some change in it. Then only the product comes out. So the Purvapaksha is that if I am the ingredient cause, then I must undergo change. So then how do you say that I am not covered by the gunas, inside, outside, anavritatvat? So, katham antar bahir gun yoga bhava tatrahe tvatte iti. So, in response to that, Vasudeva speaks the present verse. This is the correlation, sangati, between this and the previous slokas. So, nanu jagat srishtyadi kartuhu kuto anihatvadi iti sambhavet. So, now another Purvapaksha is raised, that if I am the creator, then how can you say that I am actionless? Anybody who is a karta means doer. So you are saying that doer does nothing. Or doer is without any action. So then how is he a doer? It's an oxymoron. If somebody is a karta, then the very word karta signifies that he does something. Karta karoti. Right? Because he does something, that's why he is called karta. Otherwise, why should he be called karta? So you are saying that I am the karta, I am the karta of the year. Like in Hindi they say kartar. So if I am the creator, how I can be without any action? How can somebody create and not act? This is the question. Tatrahat tvai ishvare brahmani na viruddhyate. So for that he said that you are Ishvara and you are Brahman. So therefore both things are possible for you. As Ishvara you are creator, as Brahman you are actionless. You have a double face. So the front side you are creator, back side you are actionless. And this is not contradictory in you. So one of the characteristics of Krishna is that he has contradictory energies in him, and they exist in him without contradicting each other. He has energies which are contradictory to each other, yet they peacefully exist in him. So vivada samvada bhavanti. They stay in him. So therefore it says it is not viruddhate. Tvai brahmatva anyathanupatya ishwaratve api anihatvadi kam abhyupgamye. He says that you have brahmatva in it, you, means you are Brahman, and by anyathanupatti, not being any other possibility, you are also Ishvara. And therefore it is possible. This Brahman and Ishvara both are in you only because they cannot be two separate things. If there will be two separate things, then there will be two separate entities as two independent realities, but that's not acceptable to any philosopher.
Up to this point, I mean, what you've been talking, you've been saying in several of the previous classes, talking about the well, the Advaitavad in saying that Ishvara is an intermediate stage on the way to Brahman, something like that. Up to this point, really, we couldn't clearly say that this is the Vaishnava position rather than the Advaitavada position.
Right. But now he's making it very clear that Ishvara and Brahman are not, it's not that Brahman is higher and Ishvara is lower. That is the Advaitavad view. But now you see he's saying both are you. So that's the difference. So Swarup Dava Abhavat. So this is stated in 6th canto of Bhagavatam, 9th chapter, verse 35, that you do not have two Swarupas. Although you are Brahman and you are Ishvara and you are Bhagwan, but it does not mean that you are three things. Vadanti tat tat vidas tattvam is jnanam advayam. So you are only Advaya Tattva. You are one. But it has got three aspects to it. Here he is only talking about the two aspects, Paramatma aspect and the Brahman aspect. And of course Bhagwan as Bhagwan is standing there, the third one.
Just going back one sentence, he says on Upapati as the reason for him being Ishvara. So I'm wondering why he's using that line of thought if he's having this darshan of Krishna right now, and earlier he's saying, I understood your tattva and so forth. And why is that type of reasoning the cause of him recognizing Krishna as Ishvara?
No, because he is first saying that you are Brahman. So if you are Brahman, he cannot be Brahman, he cannot see Brahman. Brahman is Nirgun, Nirakar. So he is saying that you are Brahman and by Anyathanupatti you are also Ishvara. Because there is no one else who is superior to you or equal to you. Na tat samasabhyadikasya drishyate. So you are both. He is trying to prove that he is having both aspects on him.
I mean, I guess it seems to me, isn't he having like Sakshat Bhagavad Darshan?
Yeah, he is having Sakshat Bhagavad Darshan, but you cannot have Sakshat Brahma Darshan.
Right.
So
Would it be the other way around, that he would infer that he's Brahman, but he knows that he's Ishvara?
You can say that way also. But he is trying to prove him as Ishvara by the point of view of creator, maintainer. And he is not talking just by seeing him. He is speaking philosophically. Because standing in front of him, he is not a creator and destroyer and maintainer. Right? So how can he prove that just little boy you are the creator? But he is saying that I understand that you are this and you are this also. By seeing, how can you say that he is beyond Prakriti or he is Ishvara or he is this or he is that? Okay, you can say he has Srivatsa and Kaustubha and all that. Right? But he is speaking from the point of view of philosophy, that since you are the one who create, Janmasthiti Sanyaman Vibho Vadanti, that's why he is using the word Vadanti. He is not saying I see you. He is saying the scholars speak like this about you. They say that you are the creator, maintainer and destroyer. And yet they say that you are inactive, qualityless and without transformation. So this is what scholars say about you. So now these two things seem contradictory. Right? So he says, yes, they seem contradictory, but they do not contradict, because you have the both aspect of Ishvara and Brahman. Therefore there is no contradiction. As Brahman, you are inactive, you are qualityless and you are without transformation. As Ishvara also you have qualities, and you have form, and you have chesta. So you create, but then creation is also done by the gunas and imposed onto you, that he says in the other half of the verse.
So he's not doing it directly.
Yes. So therefore he is not trying to say this just because he is seeing him like that. But he is saying this is what scholars say, vadanti. So now if they say like this, then how do you reconcile it? On one side the scholars are saying that you are the creator, etc. of the universe. On the other side they are saying that you are without any action, quality or transformation. Right? So these two things seem contradictory. Right? So Vasudeva says that they seem contradictory, but this contradiction is not in you because you have two aspects of you. One is the Brahman aspect, which is qualityless, actionless, without any transformation. Other is the Ishvara aspect, which has a form and qualities and actions. And that is only one person, Swarup Dvaya Bhavad, which he is referring. It is not two different Swarupas. It is not that sometimes you are Brahman and sometimes you are Ishvara, or Brahman is beyond and Ishvara is under the gunas, as Advaitavadis speak. So therefore what Vishwanath Chakravarti is trying to say is that what Vasudeva is saying is not what Advaitvadis think. Advaitvadis also say that there is Brahman and Ishvara and both are one, but for them Brahman is higher and Ishvara is lower. Brahman is Paramarthik Tattva beyond the three gunas, and Ishvara is in Sattva Guna. So he is saying no, it is not like that. Gunas are not in you. He already said that earlier. And now again he is saying indirectly that gunas are imposed on you, they are not in you. And he will say it further.
So this Anupapati is not Vasudeva's own conclusion at this moment. He's speaking in general about the conclusions of others.
Yes.
Shouldn't it go together with anyatha? You say anyatha anupapatti.
Yeah, that's what he is saying, Anyatha Anupatti.
Rather than just saying anupapatti.
No, no, he says Anyatha Anupatti. Read it. Brahmat.
I know, I'm just referring to Jagi Maharaj.
Yeah, it is called Anyatha Anupatti.
Babaji Maharaj,
Yes.
what is this exactly Anyathan Utpatti? Like, is it a logic which connects Brahman and Ishvara? Or is it some logic which is being used to say that?
Anyatha Anupatti is when you see the effect, and by seeing the effect you make a conclusion about the cause. Like you see, famous example, that you see a fat man who does not eat in the daytime. So then we conclude that, well, he must be eating when everyone sleeps. So that is called Anyatha Anupatti. Anyatha Anupatti literally means not being possible in any other way. Anyatha means any other way, Anupatti means not possible. So it is not possible for someone to remain fat without eating. And if he does not eat during daytime, then what does it mean? He must eat at night. So that is Anyatha Anupatti.
So here it is applied like scholars are saying that you are Brahman and you are also Ishvara. So both these things should be you only. Like this way Anyathan is applied.
Yeah, because reality is only one. Otherwise there will be two realities.
Yes.
So everybody accepts that ultimate reality is only one. So that ultimate reality is called Brahman, and as Brahman it is actionless, qualityless, without transformation. And ultimate reality is also called Ishvara, who creates and maintains. So now these two types of qualities are there. So they if they are together, then means Brahman and Ishvara must be you only. There is no other way. That is the meaning of Anyatha Anupatti. Otherwise you have to accept that There are two realities, but that is not acceptable to anybody, whether you are Vaishnava or you are Advaitvadi or anyone. So therefore he quotes from Bhagavatam, Swarup Dvaya Bhavat, that you do not have two Swarupas, otherwise you have to accept that there are two separate Swarupas of Bhagavan, independent of each other. But that's not true. Nanu etena virodho napyati.
Excuse me. What's the at the end of the Shashtokte? What's the Shashtokte?
Sixth canto. There's a sloka, Gadya, sloka, 6th canto, 9th chapter, 35th Gadya. And the Swarupdaya Bhavad is the last word in that Gadya. It's a quotation. Nanu etena virodho napyati iti aha tadashatvat. So he says that by this also, I don't understand how the contradiction has been removed. So then he says that tadashritvat, that gunai kurvadbhis tvai shrishtyadi kartritva upcharyate. Because then still you have to undergo transformation, even if you are Ishvara. Okay, Brahman does not undergo transformation, but you are Ishvara and you are creator, then you have to undergo transformation. So then how you say that you are free from transformation? Then Ishvara has to undergo. So no, Ishvara also does not undergo transformation, because it is only the gunas of Prakriti which are taking shelter in you. Gunashritvat. Yatha bhritya kritam rajni iti yataha prakriteस्त्वच्छक्तित्वेऽपि बहिरंगत्वेन त्वत्स्वरूपत्व भावाद अंतर्बहिस्तव तद्गुणो yoga bhava upadita. So he said, just like if the servant is doing some work, then the credit is taken by the king. So similarly, Prakriti is your servant, being your energy. She is the one who is doing the creation. She is Bahiranga, she is external to you. Tvat Swarupatva Bhavad, and she is not part of your Swarupa, therefore you are not touched by Prakriti inside or outside. And yet you create through her. And that her creation is applied to you, that you did it. This is the understanding. Now he is going to give second explanation that we will read tomorrow.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
So if this last bit, he's saying the creation is happening by the Bahiranga Shakti.
Hmm.
So, but the argument is that this is neither outside nor in him. Right? So is it because of the distinction between Shakti and Shaktiman that this can be said?
Yeah. That's the whole idea of Bheda and Abheda. So by Abheda, he is the creator. By Bheda, he is not undergoing transformation. So when you have to protect him, you take shelter of the Bheda. When you have to give him the credit, you take shelter of Abheda. That's the trick. Anything else?
Parikshit, perhaps I have a small question.
Yes.
So here in the final Tvad Ashraya Tvad Upacharyate Gunai. So in terms of Sanskrit, can giving Ashraya, is it equivalent to action? Or is it not equivalent to an action? Is it a verb like giving Ashraya? And how would it go with Anihata?
So you are thinking in material terms that somebody comes to you and you give shelter, right? So then you say
Yes.
you are doing something because you are giving shelter.
Yes, yes.
But if something is always under your shelter, then what do you say? There was never a time that something was not, Prakriti was not under his shelter. But still it is called that she is under his shelter, tadashritva. So therefore there is no iha. He is not doing anything to give shelter, it's just his nature. Okay.